Evening, hope you're well. It's John Warrington from Counselling Minds. Just thought I'd do a video. Different locations, still in Heysham, with a nice view overlooking a nuclear power station and the port, really, Port of Heysham, where you can get a ferry to the Isle of Man, or if you're driving a truck, you can go to Dublin. Sorry, go to Belfast, I beg your pardon. Belfast. So yeah. What have you been up to? I can't speak. You had a good weekend? What have you all been doing? So, wanted to speak briefly this evening about burnout. It's something that's not really understood, burnout. So I don't know whether anybody listening has experienced it. I was diagnosed years ago as a sales exec, driven to work really hard, and basically, hi Steve, how are you? Became burnt out, just absolutely worn out, working too hard. And I think for me, with stress, I kind of know with stress that I feel overwhelmed, that I'm kind of being swamped, really, when I'm stressed. Whereas burnout, I'm just absolutely exhausted, completely and utterly exhausted. And for me, burnout, the cynicism, so you kind of think there's just no end to it, that there's nothing that can be done. It's a feeling of hopelessness, and that people around you are kind of suggesting that you could do this, you could do that, that you could change, but everything just feels too much. And if it was possible to change, you'd do it. But whilst trying to hold down the job and do it to the best of your ability, for me, I just didn't have the resources to change. So, are any of you like that? You know, when you watch this video, does anything kind of resonate with you? And change is going to affect a lot of people. So enforce change. So with the lockdown, there are businesses that are going to contract and have contracted. I know quite sadly where I'm from originally, in Crewe, Bentley Motor Cars have announced, unfortunately, 1,000 redundancies, about a quarter of the workforce. So people, you know, there'll be a period of enforced change. It happened to me last year. I was worn out doing a job that I'd spent ages investing in, supporting young people and teenagers. And then it was suggested by individuals who are in charge of me. Chap running past. It was suggested by people who were my managers that perhaps my time with that company had ended. And I've got to be honest with you, deep down I kind of thought that was the case, really, because I'd had burnout repeatedly. So there's a bit of a theme there, isn't there, really? Working too hard to kind of prove myself. So it's a learning for me, but it was an opportunity actually for the man who suggested that my time was up. It was a time for me to kind of reflect and think, right, okay, so I can either stew and ruminate and think about this all the while and moan, or I can do my own thing, which is what I've been thinking about for ages, but then I was too scared to move and actually do it. But change is going to be enforced on lots of people, unfortunately, and it's how we deal with it, isn't it? And to get a new perspective. And for me, what really helped was talking to mates about it, to give me a different view and help me kind of reframe what it all meant. Hi Heather. Yeah. So, you know, people are having difficult days, aren't they? So changes are being enforced on people, and also people are perhaps, for the first time in ages, taking stock of what they want from their life. Thinking, right, okay, what do I want to be in this job? Or can I do something differently? What have I always wanted to do? Some people, if they're lucky, might get a redundancy package. A lot of people won't. But, you know, it's been said, isn't it, that old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And I do think that applies, doesn't it? That when our backs are against the wall, we can find resources, can't we? And we can think of solutions to problems. And that's been evident for me with the lockdown, because you've got businesses, restaurants, who are now offering takeaways. So where my office is, in Bolton Le Sands, it's at the back of Mia Italia restaurant. Do great pizzas and pasta meals. They're now doing takeaway, and I've thought for years, you can't get an Italian takeaway, can you? Hi Simon, hope you're well. Hi Sarah. But why can't you get an Italian takeaway? You can with a pizza, but you can't get pasta, can you? Whereas now you can. Businesses are being innovative, aren't they? And thinking of solutions. Same, fortunately, with me. I'll be honest with you. Hi Sarah. Beginning of the lockdown, what am I going to do? I've got no clients. I'm not allowed to see anybody. And then with video counselling, it's just been fantastic. I can still work, still earn money, and still also help people. Plus, I'd applied for jobs at Aldi and Morrison's and Lidl, and they didn't want me. They were inundated with applicants. Hiya. So yeah, they didn't want me. But actually, it was a good thing that they didn't want me, because it meant that I had to focus on building my counselling, really. So necessity is a mother of invention, and people all around the country are coming up with solutions. And people will be perhaps in situations where they're contemplating, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do for money? Moon Magic Trace. Ask me where I'm videoing. I'm overlooking the harbour. So in Heysham. There you go. Very calm. Bit windy. It's not really cold, but I've got my jacket on. Bit nash. So change. So people are contemplating changes in their lives, and you might think out there, people often feel stuck. They don't know what to do. They haven't got the resources to change. Maybe they haven't got the faith. Like me, I didn't have the faith in myself to make that change. And I benefited from conversations with other people. So I didn't have enough faith, but they had faith in me. Yeah, Sarah, God, it's not cold. So am I. But, luckily the weather's been great, hasn't it? So changes and being stuck and feeling that we haven't got the capability or the energy to make that change. But if you think in your lives when you've all adapted to circumstances that you never thought you'd adapt to, but you did, and you're right there. Life is full of heartache. So that's why people benefit from talking to other people that can help them. And that another saying, a trouble shared is a trouble halved. I'll try and think of some more cliches and sayings that my mum used to come up with, and I used to just ignore them all, really, at the time, because I knew better. So there was the dogs running around, having the time of their lives. So yeah, changes. Okay, looks like Ashdown. I don't know where Ashdown is, to be fair. I've lived here nearly 4 years in Heysham, and I'm still getting used to places. So if you haven't got the faith in yourself, can you speak to other people that can give you that faith? are you in a situation at the minute that you're finding difficult, and you have a lack of faith in your own ability to make that change? But you'll actually find people find that they're stronger than they actually believe they are. So talking to friends, talking to family, and Sarah's put, a life lived in fear is a life half lived, is another one. Yeah, but it is though, isn't it? How many people live in fear of making that leap? And how many people have made the leap, and then when they look back, they think it's the best thing they've ever done, really. And it does come with that feeling, doesn't it? We've got in our brains something called the amygdala, and it pushes out, it's the size of a 10p piece, and it pushes out stress chemicals, and it can help kind of keep us stuck, can't it? And my amygdala did. I was petrified of making a change. So I do think, as well as all the heartache that this period's causing of lockdown, it will be seen as well as a period of great loss and adjustment. I think it will result it will be seen as a bit of a creative period, and it will be seen as a time when people wanted to make a difference, and they weren't happy with the status quo, and wanted things to kind of change in a different perspective. I'm also personally kind of excited about this decade. I know we've started the decade, but we're in kind of limbo at the minute, aren't we? But it's the start of a new decade, and there's going to be lots of young people, aren't there, that their formative years are going to be in this decade. Hi Steve, hope you're well. And they'll want to change how things are and how things are approached, and they'll have new ideas. And so it's helped you to speak out about how you feel talking to people. So talking to people helps, doesn't it? If we keep all our stresses, all our worries inside, we're just processing them ourselves. Whereas if we can talk to people, and share how we're feeling, it does help. It's not a cliche, it does help. So, a period of change coming up for lots of people. So there's people wandering past. So this lockdown is going to result in, people in a year's time, what will your lives look like? What will you've done differently? Are you kind of thinking now, I'm ready for something different, or has it been enforced on you? Have you got used to working at home, if you've been able to work at home? Some of you will be key workers. Are you okay, or are you exhausted? Because obviously, you've been holding the fort, haven't you, frankly, in whether it's the health service, whether it's care homes, whether it's refuse collection, whatever you've been doing. You've been holding the fort. So it's a big period of change, isn't it? Where people are re-evaluating what they're doing. Sorry, let's people wandering past. Time to look and reevaluate. So burnout. I started off talking about burnout and kind of drifted off. And I apologise for, it's been pointed out, I do say a lot, which I mentioned before, and I will, because that's my, it is a busy spot. And you're a key worker, Trace, trying to keep all safe. Absolutely, it's really tough, isn't it? I can imagine I'm not a key worker, but I can imagine you're working so hard, and have done for 10, 11 weeks now. And were for longer than that. It's not like the key workers haven't suddenly just kicked in, have they? And there's many of you, and you've been working hard for years. and many would say underpaid and underappreciated, and maybe that'll change. Don't get involved in politics though, and don't disclose what my political views are, but hopefully things will change and you're appreciated more. So yeah, I say a lot. That's like an anxiety thing, that's like a nervous thing. Everyone has kind of nervous traits, don't they? Some people kind of fidget, some people have nervous tics. Everyone, is affected by nerves in some way and anxiety. Hi Lee, how are you? So, burnout. Are you looking after yourselves? So burnout creeps up on people. Before you know it, you're absolutely exhausted, you're working too hard, you're becoming cynical. Are you getting the rest you need? Working from home, some people think it's just an excuse to skive. Those of you working from home are probably finding that you're working harder than, which I've touched on before, that you're working harder than you would do if you're in the office. You're not having a break. You're losing track of time. Before you know it, it's the end of the day and you've been sat at your dining table with no one to kind of measure your equipment, no one to check that where you're sitting is from a health and safety perspective okay for you. So yeah, burnout. Hi Helen, how are you? Just trying to avoid having lots of people in the video when they don't really want to be in a video, do they? I didn't really want to be in a video, but it was suggested, Helen, by your sister Ruth, who's been giving me fantastic advice over the last 9 months. This was a way to encourage people to get involved in video counselling, and it's worked somehow. And what I wanted to do, along with another counsellor, Danny, is to kind of demystify counselling and put a more kind of human face on it. And just, it's just another way of communicating with people, isn't it? Hi, Candice. So, I'm going to go because I'm waffling on, and if you're anything like me, I've not got a great attention span. It used to be fantastic. I used to read lots of books, and now I've got the attention span of a gnat, which is probably unfair to gnats because we don't know what their attention span is like, do we? So, yeah, it's a period of change. It's important to kind of look after your own mental health, isn't it? Burnout is underappreciated, still by those when people see the doctor, they might be diagnosed with depression, but often burnout's not appreciated, and people are actually worn out, that they are working beyond their capacity, and it's for too long a time. And when you're burnt out, it isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, actually, because people have worked too hard beyond their capacity and they've not asked for help. So if you are feeling at a point where you can't cope, please seek help from the doctors. The doctors are still taking calls, and I would say this, but search for a counsellor. Please get help. Don't endure alone. Look on the counselling directory, look on the Psychology Today or the British Association, the BACP website, British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists. So, gonna go. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of the evening. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.